The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised. What is going on, kings, queens, and the entire spectrum in between? It's your boy Kwame, and I am back with another episode of Kwame Speaks. I am super excited today because we have a special guest today. My brother from another mother, my inspiration on TikTok, brother Jared is here. Just Jared. We're going to get into it and chop it up with him about mental health and all things related to mental health today, right here on Kwame Speaks. So if you're just tuning in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please subscribe and hit that like button. It does help with the algorithm. You know how the algorithm is, tries to play us a little bit. But before we bring Jared on, I want to make sure that we go ahead and thank our sponsors. We got to thank our sponsors here. Pyro Media Productions. Pyro Media Productions is the people that puts this all together. You want some content creation? You need some social media management? You need photos? Everybody, la-da-da, video production, audio production. They're the ones that keeps it all together. And we have Bullet in Flight Radio, the #1 progressive Christian radio station in the world. And they are supporting us. And if you are listening here on Bullet in Flight Radio, thank you so much for listening. Go over to www.pyromedianetwork.com so you can get all of the links to our sponsorships and our any type of ads and things and specials for our audience here. And speaking of our specials for our audience, we are also sponsored by The Coldest Water. The Coldest Water is offering a special discount and it's 10% off on all online purchases if you go to their website, and go ahead and use the link that is on the that is in the chat right now, so you can go ahead and use that. And if you need to, go over to www.pyromedianetwork.com and you can get the link there. We also want to thank our other sponsor, Audible. Audible.com is an Amazon company, and they're offering our Pyro maniacs, Pyro Kwame lovers out there, everybody la-di-da-di, a special offer to our Pyro Media audience, which is a 30-day free trial of their audiobooks. Now, listen. I know the traditional way is to read a book, and I love books. You see it on over here. I have a whole bunch of books in my library, but sometimes your brother has to listen. Why? Because he has to work. And he's trying to tune out all of the drama. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead and get over to Audible and utilize the stuff that they have over there. All right, you guys. So today's topic is a really special topic to me, and I want to talk about mental health because we're keeping it real with Jared on today. And one of the things that I saw that in my research and doing all of this here, and putting the show together was the World Health Organization. And they said that without effective support, mental disorders and other mental health conditions can affect a person's confidence and identity at work, capacity to work productively, absences, and the ease with which to retain or gain work. 12 billion working days are lost every year to depression and anxiety alone. And then I have a link to the full article, which I would love for you guys to make sure that you check out. But before we get into all of the things in here, I don't want to talk about it by myself because I do have a mental health advocate, Jared, here, and he's going to be talking about everything that he's experienced and why he decided to do this. So I want to go ahead and just kind of read a little bit of his bio, if you will stick with me a little bit. And so Jared Denzel Keller is a mental health advocate whose using his social media to share his journey and normalize the conversation surrounding mental health. Following the suicide of his friend, Jared decided to become more vocal about his struggles with anxiety, depression, and suicide ideation to help those suffering in silence. Using his story to shine a light on what mental health looks like, Jared shares his triumphs and failures regarding his mental health to remind others that, quote, it's okay to not be okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to delay any longer. You've seen this handsome face right on here. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the incomparable Jared Keller. Hello, sir.
Hi, that was quite an introduction. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Jared, for those who do not know, I know you're big on TikTok, I know you're big on Instagram, but for those who do not know, I don't know if they're living under a rock, whatever. If they don't know who you are, can you give them a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do, my brother?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, I'm a mental health advocate. Over the last few years, I had a few like super crazy things happen. One of them being the passing, unfortunately, of my friend to suicide. And it just kind of put me on a trajectory that, to be honest, I never thought I'd be on. I never saw myself doing anything like what I'm doing right now. But, after the passing of Gary, I almost felt obligated, like, to start being more vocal with what I was going through and some of my mental health struggles. Because I remember having a sadness after he passed, thinking that he was going through a lot of that by himself, and I guess didn't feel comfortable enough with being open about it. And I wanted to, do something different in my own life. So that's kind of how I got started doing this mental health advocacy.
Yeah, and so I actually first of all my condolences to you and to the family of Gary. I know I've had a friend who passed away in the military from suicide, and we didn't know. Like, it was just kind of like we weren't really educated on it. We weren't
Right.
we were kind of in our own worlds. We were trying to deal with stress, from deployment and stuff like that in and of itself. And I think just us seeing people smiling all the time, we just kind of assume that everything is okay. And oftentimes they're not. And so, with him passing, it really kind of it kind of jarred all of us. So it was like, wow, we really have to protect ourselves. And by doing so, we need to talk and be more real with each other. And so with that being said, one of the things that I've noticed, especially in the Black culture, and even in Latino culture, there's a kind of a resonance that's there that says, whatever happens in the house stays in the house, right? Or don't tell people your business, or be a man, suck it up, and or what I like to call in the Army, drink water and drive on. That's something that we've always been kind of indoctrinated with, and so for me, oftentimes, I had to break that cycle of me having to kind of bottle it all up and say it's okay to have a moment to talk to your friend. It's okay to cry. It's okay to do what is deemed not manly. And so my question to you would be, how have you gone through that, and also what have you done to kind of break that cycle?
So first of all, oh my God, yes, I've gone through that. I feel like most Black people, and especially Black men, have gone through that. I am from Louisiana, so I'm from like Bible Belt South. And my father is like kind of like an old school Black man. You don't see him cry. He doesn't talk about his feelings or his emotions. That's just wasn't who he was. And I think that for me, kind of suffering with some feelings of depression, because growing up gay in Louisiana to religious parents and all that, like that kind of came with it. I noticed that I had started to take on some of the patterns of my father. And my father is a great man, but that was just not something I wanted to take on in my own personal life. But it took a minute for me to even have certain conversations with myself, because I was a lot like my dad. I didn't like talking about my emotions and my feelings. And I certainly didn't want to admit to myself that I struggled with depression. It was like, absolutely not. Like, that's not me. I don't know. That's not me. But the older I started getting and the more life kicked my ass in certain scenarios, I saw that I was struggling a little bit more than what I felt the average person was. And I did start to wonder, like, well, what's going on? Why do I feel this way? And then I would say it wasn't honestly until my late 20s that I finally started to be a little bit more comfortable with, like, well, you might be struggling with your mental health a little bit here, Jared. I know you don't want to fully admit that to yourself or talk about it, but that doesn't make it go away. That still is the case. Like, you got to confront it and deal with it. And for me, that is what I have done that's different, or what I've done to break the chain. It's just honestly just being honest with myself, with my feelings, with my emotions, what I'm going through, any struggles that I am having, even if I don't like the way it sounds, admitting it to myself. Because that is hard, but like that's how I've been trying to break it.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I really love about and for me, I discovered you on TikTok, and so shout out to all the TikTok followers out there. But one of the things that I noticed and that you kept doing that I didn't see across. Oftentimes we don't see the transparency of people. People utilize Instagram and Facebook, and they want to put on a kind of front because they want to put on this image and build this image or what have you. And that's all fine and dandy if you're trying to be a celebrity or whatever. But one of the things that I think, especially with me being in marketing, is that people are moving away from the polished and looking at the authenticity, and people are gravitating to what they can connect with. And so I'm noticing that once I shifted from trying to make these high production TikToks and started focusing on, like, this is me. I have not, combed my beard. I have not put on my skincare yet. This is what I'm waking up to, and this is what I'm feeling, and my thoughts are. And I noticed that has changed. But what I love that you do is that you go deeper than that. You're not just talking about the latest trends and what's going on, which is nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with people talking about pop culture. But what I love that you do is that you go deep within yourself. And I think that is so relatable. Because there's so oftentimes I'm looking at your TikToks and I'm like, so he just went up in my journal and attacked him. So he just went up in my journal, and I don't know how he got there, but he just went ahead and took my stuff and decided that he was going to put it all over social media without my permission. But my question is, how do you get over that fear? Because I know everybody has a fear of just even getting on camera and saying something and just putting themselves out into the world. But how do you get over that fear of going into that deep dive space?
It took a minute, but then also, like, if we fast forward, like, maybe when I first started doing this, I was at a point in my life where a lot of things just went crazy. Like, Gary had just passed away. I wasn't working. I just moved to a new city. I had come off of being in a recovery center in New York City for substance abuse. I lost my job during the pandemic. It was just a lot of very crazy things that happened to me. And to be honest, at the time, I didn't feel like I had anything to lose. And after Gary passed away, that feeling, plus not feeling like I had anything to lose, was like, I'm just going to be open and 100% honest about everything that I'm going through. And it's funny. It's interesting to hear you say that, you used to do these types of videos and then it started shifting. I was the same way. So I tried doing like the social media thing a few years ago, and it was very like, look at me in these cute outfits and, that whole thing. And it didn't really go anywhere. It wasn't until I started being real and authentic and saying, like, I'm feeling depressed today, or like my anxiety has me feeling like I'm about to jump off the roof. Like, that was when I noticed it started taking off. And even I was like, what's going on? Like, why is this what everyone's responding to? Like, I thought it would be like cute outfits and, shirtless pictures. I thought it would be that stuff, but it was me being honest and genuine. And I honestly feel like the reason why it took off is because people could identify with it. I say all the time, we're all a hot mess. Like, no one has this together. No one knows what they're doing. We're doing the best we can and making the best decisions that we have with the amount of knowledge in that moment. We're trying to make the best decision, but there is no handbook for any of this. And I feel like that's what people identified with. They saw that and they was like, well, damn, I feel crazy today too. So I'm not the only one. And that was the whole point of it. Like that, I say again, like the root of it started with Gary. I wish he had felt comfortable enough talking to me about it. I wish I felt comfortable enough talking about my issues with him. And neither one of us did. And I remember saying, I don't want people to feel like that. So if that means me telling you everything, even the color of my drawers, then I'll do that. I want people to feel more open and honest with each other, like have that human connection and just share. Because the crazy thing is, I have so many people message me, all kind of struggling with some of the same things. And it's like, you would never know it though, because we don't talk to each other about any of this. We all act like we're fine all the time. But if we were just more open, we would see that there are so many people that are in the exact same place that we are.
And with that being said, Jared, like what have you noticed in your journey that you wish you probably would have did differently? I know, like for me, I noticed a growth in my TikTok when I started being more real. Regardless of this polished image that I was trying to put on for Kwame Speaks, or this polished image that I was trying to put on as being an executive for a media company or whatever. I said, if they're not going to like me, I'm supposed to be a representation of my business, and if they're not going to like me, and in my authentic space, then they're not going to like my business. So what's the purpose of trying to put on for an audience that's not going to relate to it? And so my question to you would be, what have you done? What are some of the tools that you can recommend to people that you have noticed in your journey that has really helped kind of bring out that authenticity, to keep it real, to kind of really dig deep? I know for me, one of the things that I was doing was journaling, and that really has helped. But I'm interested in knowing what tools you've utilized.
Honestly, social media. That's like crazy as that sounds, like that has become almost like a video journal for me. Like a lot of people say like, oh, your messages are so great and they're so inspirational. And that's great. I'm glad that other people find inspiration in them. But honestly, a lot of times I am talking to myself in those videos. Like if you notice, like I have these like almost kind of like erratic voices that are like, and you need to go da-da-da-da. But like that's how I hear it in my head. And I kind of just like put it in video form. And sometimes I'll even go back and watch videos of myself, like telling me to do this, do that. I'm like, yeah, self, you're right. I do need to do that. But social media, it's helped me quite a bit to really open up and, to be honest, just not care about what people think, because that was a huge issue for me. Similar like what you were saying before, like I used to try to put out this image of who I wanted people to think I was. This very polished, I was living in New York, I was working in fashion, all that. I wanted to have this like idea of a person. But then behind the scenes, there was like a different person. And that was the person that was struggling with depression. That was the person that was using sex, using drugs, using all this crazy stuff, because I could not merge who I wanted people to think I was and who I actually was. Like I couldn't marry those two. And I think over the time, it kind of got the best of me. But after all those crazy things I referenced earlier in the last few years, after that happened, I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Like I cannot keep pretending to be who everyone else wants me to be, because I'm going crazy. Like I am literally like abusing drugs. Like in what world am I abusing drugs? But that's what was happening, because I couldn't merge those two things. And I was just like, I am done. I'm done. Yeah. And it was almost like I wanted to do it in a grand way. And so I was like, I'm going to social media. I'm just going to start talking about it across the board. Because in my mind, it was almost like, now, if you meet me, I don't have to peel back the layers. I'm putting it all on the table before you even meet me in person. This is what it is. And if you like it and you want to be friends with me, then great. And if you don't, then that's fine too. Stay away. But I just wanted to be open and honest with myself. And I felt like a big part of that was being open and honest with the world or whoever looks at my Instagram page. And it has helped me, though, so much. So much.
Relatable content. Relatable content. And only because like I think I have come to a space where I was trying to be something for the church community. I was trying to be something for, the Kwame Speaks people. I was trying to be something for Pyro Media. I was trying to be something for my parents. I was trying to be something for relationships. I was trying to be something for my friend. I was trying to be something for everyone else but Kwame. And that, hearing you talk about, trying to be something and trying to fit into all of these molds that you knew was not authentically you, hit me, because it's like, yeah, I think we all go through something like that, because we worry so much about image and what other people are feeling and what other people are wanting us to be, or what we think other people are wanting us to be. Because oftentimes, if we want to be real about it, we are putting on expectations on ourselves that nobody else is thinking about. It's like, I didn't care that you had $5 million in your bank, or that you were, that you have this many following on social media. I just liked Kwame, or I just like Jared. And oftentimes what we do is we just put these expectations on ourselves, and me, and so we put these expectations on ourselves, and that can crumble us. And so hearing you say that was your breaking point, and the moment you got free from that is when you started to thrive more. That's super beautiful. So before we go, because we do have to take a commercial break soon, but I want to talk about how because you talked about you worked in the fashion industry. Now, we all know how the fashion industry is.
Yes,
we all know how the fashion industry is. We all know how the Hollywood is. We all know how Atlanta is. We all know how these scenes are. And so I'm interested to know how this affected you in your work life, your mental health affecting your work life, and how you feel important it is for not just entrepreneurs, but people who have corporate lives and who are in careers, how this, all jumps together.
Okay, I'm excited to get into that. Okay.
Yes. Let's go ahead and take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with more of Jared. We'll be right back, guys. We're Black by popular demand. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are just tuning in, don't forget to go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And we are joined by the handsome, the amazing, the incomparable Jared Keller. Jared, we were just talking about just mental health and our journeys and how that has brought you into today. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is how you feel. First of all, your whole corporate life and your experience in your career, and how mental health and the lack of mental health awareness kind of maybe possibly triggered, some issues in your career, and how you are today, and how it's kind of, your journey with that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still struggle with anxiety now. I'm like bouncing my leg and I'm trying to get it to stop. But I had my first panic attack when I was in college, and I didn't even know what it was. And I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack because it was one of those where you can't breathe and you have to breathe into a paper bag. Well, because I didn't really know a lot about mental health, I didn't know that I needed to breathe into a paper bag to catch my breath back up. I thought I was dying. I didn't know what was happening. And so anxiety kind of stuck from there on out. But when I first got into the corporate world, first of all, you have to understand I am from the hood of Alexandria, Louisiana. Like, I don't come from a super fancy, super educated family. So when I'm around all of these, I mean, white people, and I'm struggling with my own imposter syndrome of feeling like I don't actually deserve to be here, and I have to work myself, give myself like anxiety attacks because I would be freaking out so much. But it was because I really didn't know how to navigate that space, and I was doing what I thought was best. And it took me pretty far, but there were times where my anxiety would just be so out of control. I would like call my mom during lunch breaks, like crying, like gasping for air. But I didn't feel like I had a good grasp on exactly what I was doing. I figured things out over the years, but my anxiety was really intense. I feel like honestly over like the last few years, I mean, not even the last few years, I am currently still trying to figure out how to not be so anxious when I'm at work. Like I am constantly doing that to myself. I feel like I manage it better than I did when I was working in fashion, because now I work in nonprofit. I work for the Human Rights Campaign. But it is still something I struggle with. Like, I'm constantly having to tell myself to stop freaking out over whatever I'm freaking out about, because it's not even that serious. You're making yourself crazy right now. You have to stop doing it. But there was a point in my life where I couldn't even do that. I couldn't even be like, Jared, calm down. Like, I would just be so spastic and screaming and running around like a crazy person. But now I manage it a little bit better, but it is for sure something that I still deal with.
Yeah. So also relatable content because I feel like it's cost me relationships. It's cost me like either friendships or even just intimate relationships where they didn't know how to handle it, and I didn't know what was going on. I noticed that one of the things that I ran into, especially in the military, was I thought I was having a heart attack, and I was freaking out, and it would add more onto the anxiety because I'm like, well, I have family that died from heart attacks, and I know that's my parents have heart issues or whatever. So I'm like freaking out, like I'm gonna die. It's not a fun experience, and I think people I had people who did not, especially being in the military, where they're just like, suck it up, everything's gonna be okay, and they didn't have the proper tools, to kind of handle that. And I'm freaking out, and they're like, bro, like you just need to breathe. I can't. Like, that's kind of the problem. Like, but I think obviously with training, and I think with also understanding of where I'm at with things, and then understanding me more, and talking to therapists. I think therapy is so important. Like, I don't think people really understand the level of impact and the change that therapy has on one's life. But that's here nor there. But I related to you in what you were saying, because like even now, I think a lot of people think because I do Pyro Power Hour, or I do Kwame Speaks, or I produce these shows or whatever, and they're just like, oh, Kwame's got it, he's cool. I freak out every time I go live. I freak out every time. And it's like a split second, because of course I've worked through a lot of things or whatever, but it's like a split second of like, oh my god, the camera's on. And I just, because I'm used to being the man with the plan behind the stands, and that's kind of what's my thing. And so me being in the front, or even talking to you, and you saying you also, you were kicking your leg, I was like, oh, he sees. He sees me doing it. But I like that, because at the same time, I think people, one of the biggest things that I have learned, and that I try to tell my clients, that I try to tell my friends, that I try to tell everyone that I come in contact with, is that you are not alone. And oftentimes the worst thing, the biggest lie that I feel the devil tries to throw at us is that we are alone, and that we're the only ones that go through stuff.
Right.
Whatever it is. Yeah. And you're all the way on the East Coast. I'm over here on the West Coast, and we're experiencing very similar, situations. And I feel like there is so many different people, and not just handfuls of people. There are hundreds, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who are going through, anxiety issues, who are going through depression, who are going through different types of mental health issues. And one of the things that I noticed, one of my favorite podcasters, Kid Fury of The Read, he talks about depression. And I was just listening to the most recent episode of The Read, and how he was just being open about, like, I'm not having a good week. Like, this is how I'm feeling, but I'm hanging in there. I'm going through the motions, but this is what, and so oftentimes people say, well, you have to show up and you have to show out and just be what it is. And I think there's this fear of, like, oh, well, I think the new generation is showing too much, or doing too much online. But I think that if you don't express how you're feeling, if you don't tell people, then people are going to be in these silos thinking that they're in it by themselves, and they're not. So what do you think?
I mean, it's a very lonely feeling, but it doesn't have to be, because, like you said, we are all kind of dealing with a lot of the same things. And, to people that say you share too much, well, I feel like that's the connectivity. That is what had someone in my family who is older, who I have looked up to for quite a while, came and told me, like, end of last year, that they struggle with depression. They've been taking medication for years. And they only told me that because of me speaking so openly about it on Instagram. So, like, if I can have that effect with that person, imagine how someone else sharing their story would make other people feel more connected to them. I think it adds to the human connection. And again, it's lonely, but it doesn't have to be. We could all be out here looking out for each other and really comforting each other through the things that we're going through, because a lot of us are going through the same thing, but we're so busy acting like we have it together all the time. So we can't be for each other because we're trying to seem like we're perfect, or we're strong. Moments where we're tired or we break down. But I think I say this all the time, like, share your story, because you have no idea who might need to hear it. And it could be just that one day that person just happens to scroll across Instagram and they see your story and they feel more comfortable, and then they share, and then it just is a chain reaction, and everyone just keeps opening up more and more.
Yeah. Now, first, well said. So what are some of the things that that you would give advice on for someone who may not have the resources that a big city individual may have, like where there's you work for a nonprofit, you have a lot of resources, you have a career that they may be struggling in whatever situation, and they feel like they're not able to reach out to someone. What are some of things that you would recommend for them?
Well, I mean, I say it's always good to have a circle. I mean, everyone can't necessarily afford a therapist, and I understand that. Like I said, I did not grow up with money. I understand what it's like to be broke AF. Everyone can't afford a therapist. But if you have a circle of friends, even if it's nothing more than sometimes just to vent and get certain things off of your chest, I think that helps. That there needs to be some type of outlet for you in your life for you to just talk about these things, and not even expecting for that person necessarily to give you anything back. Sometimes it's just good to say it out loud and express it and get it off your chest. So if nothing else, find what that outlet is for you, whether it's a friend or a cousin or your mama or your daddy or whoever it is. Like, find that space for you. And then I know for me, I found a physical outlet. Like, that's why I work out so much, because lifting forces anxiety and tension to leave my body. So I think if you can find something like biking, or even if it's walking, find something that can work for your mental and your physical health. Because, like, when you have them in tandem, it works amazing.
It does. I definitely have increased, because I have a dance background, so like that's kind of where I go to. That's my space to kind of go into, and that's my safe space. That the bar, not drinking bar, guys. I'm talking about BARRE. So the ballet bar is where I go to for kind of respite and grounding. But I definitely concur with Jared on you guys, like, making sure that you have space carved out in your day for some type of self-care. And y'all know, for those who follow me y'all know I am a huge happy planner person, and there is literally time each day that I have to put on my checklist, say, hey, did you do some self-care today? Did you do something for you today that is outside of anyone else or anything else? And just kind of keeping it, whether that be meditating, whether that be going for a walk, whether that be working out, whether that be just sipping tea and listening to an audible that thing or whatever it is, just have that time for you to kind of make sure that you're realigning and grounding. But yes, Jared, it's been like amazing having you on here. I would love to have you on again. I feel so honored that you took the time out to be on here. You are definitely a light on TikTok, and I know for me, you have helped me. I want to say personally, you have helped me on days when I was just like, you know what, it's time to just go meet the maker. Like seriously, like it's been, you really don't realize, and I think a lot of you who are watching may not realize how your light impacts people. So don't think that you are not worth being on this earth. Don't think that you're not worth attention or light being shined out. You are important. Because I know for a fact that Jared's videos, there's been a couple of times where I see his signs just going through Instagram. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna breathe. I'm not gonna cut anybody. I'm not gonna hurt myself. We're gonna take a breather and just go on about the day. So I want to thank you, Jared. I want to thank you for the work that you do, for your transparency, for your honesty, for your vulnerability, and for just being you, because we need more people like you in this world, and we need more people that take mental health seriously like you do. And in your darkness, you've created such a beautiful rainbow and a beautiful light and light bulb that shines really brightly, whether you think so or not sometimes. And I want to let you know that, like, not to add any pressure on you, keep up the good work. But for those who don't know, you're so welcome. For those who don't know, if how can people find you? What other upcoming projects you have going on? Let us know.
I am on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Jared.Denzel. That's Jared with 2 R's. All my content is there. What do I have coming up? I'm working on a few different projects with some other brands that should be coming out sometime this spring, and hopefully some speaking engagements over the summertime.
Dope. Keep us posted on that. I would love to keep you and bring you back on here and make you a recurring rotation right here on Kwame Speaks. I appreciate you.
I would love to come back.
Yes. All right, you guys. Don't forget to go ahead and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You gotta make sure you do that. That's very important. It helps the algorithm go where it needs to be. Let me go ahead and pull this stuff up here. So go ahead and like, share, and subscribe. And don't also forget that you can go ahead and go to my website at youtube.com/@KwameSpeaks. And you guys know that I've been working on this for a while, but my new candle company was just launched. So you can go ahead and check it out. You can go ahead and get candles and wax melts and all of those really dope things. And it just goes to show that whatever dreams and aspirations you have, go ahead and just do it. Like Nike says, just do it. Because no matter all of that anxiety I had built up, this has been a year in the making, and I should have just went ahead and just did it last year. Because overnight, you guys went ahead and sold out my entire inventory. So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and keep them coming. And don't worry, we're constantly restocking. But go over to luxandnoir.com because everything is black and luxurious. So keep it there. And then you can also find me on all things social media at Kwame Speaks, except on IG because someone has Kwame Speaks already. So go to Kwame_Speaks. Praise God. I'm going to move on. And then you can contact me directly if you need any type of productivity tips at Kwame Speaks at Outlook.com. And you can always check out PyroMediaEnterprises.com to check out what KC3 and other things that are going on with my brand is. So again, my thanks to you, Jared. My thanks to you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. And again, stay blessed, stay safe. And until then, create a great day. Bye.